Okay, students, this is a little review on the idea of accidentals, enharmonics, and diatonic and chromatic movement. So let's review a little bit about the basics. When we look at our keyboard, we're looking at an arrangement of our letters as they go on up the keyboard. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and of course they repeat over and over and over. So we got this arrangement of the white keys and arrangement of the black keys. 2 black keys, 3 black keys, etc., etc. Now, our accidentals are these crazy little symbols. Sharps mean the tone is going to get raised a half step, and if it's a sharp, and a flat is they go lower a half step. So let's review the idea of half steps and whole steps. A whole step is the distance between 2 tones, so C to D. That is a whole step, and this is a distance. It's a whole step because there's 1 tone in between. So this guy's in between C and D. We would say G to A is a whole step because there's 1 tone in between. E to F is a half step because there's no tones in between. These are as close as 2 tones can get. Okay, so let's kind of hear the sound of some of those. Let me get this up here right now. So let's listen to some whole steps and some half steps. Here is that's CD. That's a whole step. And this is a half step. That's about, you can't get any closer than those 2 notes. Here's a half step. That's E to F. E to F is a half step. But E to F sharp is a whole. You can go up or down whole steps. Here's B, down a whole step. B, A, down a half step. Okay. Here's F, down a whole step. Okay. That's a whole step because there's a tone in between. So when we look at our keyboard, we see that each of these tones can be called different things. So for instance, here's F. If we go up 1 half step, this tone is F sharp. But it's also G flat because it's G lowered a half step. But we also got these other crazy things. Double flats, and this thing is, this little X is a double sharp. The double flats mean a tone is lowered 2 half steps. So if we have G, we lower it 1 half step, we're at G flat. Lower it the 2nd half step, we're at G double flat. Same thing with this F double sharp. If we're at F, and we go up 1 half step, we're at F sharp. Go up the 2nd half step, we're at F double sharp. So pretty much every single tone can be called 3 different things, and what you're going to call it is going to be depending upon context in relation to different scales, different chords, different kinds of intervals. There's a lot of things that can decide what something is going to be called. So if we look over here, we got C sharp, and we go up here. We can go to this key, this half step. We can call this 3 different things. This is C sharp. You go up 1 half step, C double sharp. Or you could call this key E double flat because it's E lowered twice, or it's just that plain old D. Now that's where the enharmonics come in. Enharmonics is that each of these tones, even though they may sound the same, you can call them something different. So for instance, this is E flat, Z down 1. But it's also D sharp. So here's E flat, here's D sharp. And you can call it one other thing. You could call it F double flat. Here's F, here's F flat, here's E flat. I mean E double flat, F double flat. So this guy could be E flat, D sharp, or F double flat. Okay, we look at this key. That looks like an E. It's just a white key. It looks like E, but it can also be D double sharp and F flat, just like it says here. E, D double sharp, F flat. Now we can have things like diatonic movement and chromatic movement. Diatonic, when we move diatonically, is we're going to go to letters, adjacent letters. So if I said, what is a diatonic whole step above E? Here's E. Well, let's go a whole step. If we go a whole step above E, we get to this black key. Now this black key has 3 different names. Now if I said, what's a whole step above E? You could give any of these names. But since I'm saying diatonic, you have to go to the next letter. Now again, these are just letters. The accidentals are coming later. So if we're just going letters, the next letter after E is F. So since we're over here, we're going to say a diatonic whole step above E is F sharp. Not G flat, because you skipped the letter. E to F sharp is a diatonic whole step. If we said, what's a diatonic whole step above F sharp? Well, you go a whole step. You wouldn't say a diatonic whole step above F sharp is A flat. The next letter after F is G. So F sharp to G sharp is a diatonic move of a whole step. Now, let's talk about chromatic. Chromatic is you're going to keep the same letter, just change the accidental. So if I said, what is a chromatic half step below D, then we'd go this way, go down to D flat. We'd say chromatic half step below D is D flat. Now if we said, what is a diatonic half step below D, we would say C sharp, because diatonic is the next letter. The next letter below D is C. There's C right there. D to D flat is a chromatic move. D to C sharp is a diatonic move. So watch this. Here's D. Go down a diatonic to C sharp. Here's D. Go down a chromatic to D flat. They look different in notation. So let's do one more of those. Let's go up from G, a diatonic half step. We have 2 choices. Diatonic says the next letter. The next letter after G is A. So a diatonic half step above G is A flat. If we said, what is a chromatic half step above G? Chromatic says keep the letter, change the accidental. So G to G sharp is a chromatic. G to A flat is a diatonic. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to review is where all these notes are on the keyboard. So let's take a look at this. This is our piano keys. And like I said, I recommend you review these. So, hopefully we know that we're looking at an E flat, all cows E, and that's a flat E flat. So the question is, where is this E flat? There's many E flats. Here's E flat. Here's E flat. Here's E flat. See, that's C. C, D, E. So this is E flat. Here's E flat. But where is this E flat? Well, if you know middle C is right here, here's middle C. This is the E flat right below middle C. So here's C, B, A, G, F, E flat. Okay, where is that C sharp? Well, let's figure out where this C is. That's a C, all cows. This C, if there was a ledger line here, that would be middle C. So this is the next C. So this guy is C4. Middle C is C4. That's C3. So here's middle C, which would be here. This is the C below. Here. That's C. Now that says where's C sharp? Right there. C sharp. Okay. Now what is this one? This is a ledger line. So we got to go here. This is G. Then go backwards. This is F. The line is E, which means this is D sharp. Now D sharp is enharmonic with E flat. So where are the different D sharps? Here's D sharp. Here's D sharp. Here's D sharp. Here's D sharp. Well, where is this D sharp? Okay, well, let's go with what we know. We know that middle C is here, right there. Now let's go to the next C. That's C. Now if we count backwards, go down to the next C. The next C is here. That's C right there, which would be here on the keyboard, which means that that D sharp is even lower than that. So you got to go down here. Yep, there's D, and there's D sharp. Okay, where's that C? We just figured it out. Here's middle C, and that's C right below middle C. So C down 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, and where is that D flat? Well, here's D flat. Here's D flat. Here's D flat. Here's D flat. Where is that D flat? Okay, well, let's go with what we know. Here's middle C. This D flat is just below middle C. So we're going below C, B, A, G, F, E, D flat. All right, let's do one more. This is D sharp. 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 Where is this D sharp? Middle C is right here. So it's right after middle C. Here's middle C, here's D, and there's D sharp. Yeah, let's do one more. This guy's pretty high. This is a G. G sharp. Where on the keyboard is that G sharp? We know middle C is right here. Then if we go C, D, E, F, G, this G is here. C, D, E, F, G, middle C. C, D, E, F, G. So this G is higher than this G. Here's G. Now go to the next G. G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. This is G, and now make it G sharp. There we go. So hopefully that clarifies some of the things. I recommend you practice on the piano keys, because you'll find as you start doing this, hey, that's D sharp, it's also E flat. This is B flat, it's also A sharp. You'll start seeing things like that, and you can review the diatonic and chromatic moves in your book and on the charts I've given you your modules. So enjoy the review on this, and you can watch the other review videos. Okay.